Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier, more balanced and live the lifestyle they love. And today we have Sarah Kiryshin in the studio, who is a barbecue cook and healthy food advocate. Welcome, Sarah. What have you got for us today?
So I am an absolute barbecue fanatic. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my fundamental rules when it comes to barbecuing, okay? So for me, I am a very, very busy person. I live quite an active lifestyle and I love food. Number one, the food must always be delicious. But for me, barbecuing makes it more delicious. There's that incredible flavour that you cannot describe that comes from a barbecue, especially when you cook over charcoal. The other thing is it has to be simple. And of course, quick. That was the other point as well. So delicious, simple and quick. They are my three fundamentals to cooking on the barbecue.
Do you want to talk about what you've got here?
Absolutely. So this is actually quite a special dish. When it comes to my beautiful snapper here, all I do is I pop as many herbs as I possibly can inside because as it cooks, they're going to infuse the flesh from the inside out. So herbs and lemon, it's kind of that simple. And then on the outside, I usually make a few incisions in the fish. And in this particular one, I've just got some fennel and lemon. And that's it. Again, that beautiful, gentle aniseed flavour of the fennel and the lemon complements the fish so beautifully, and it keeps it really, really light and fresh, and that's what we want, especially when we're having a delicious fish like this. And then really, it's as simple as just making sure the barbecue is hot enough. That's essential because the last thing you want is the fish sticking to it. And then you just pop it on there. So what I love to serve my fish with is some sweet potatoes and of course complementing that with some grilled fennel as well, because that's already in the fish and I just feel like it kind of ties it all in together. So call it a kind of quick, easy, healthy take on fish and chips. When it comes to cooking a delicious dish on the barbecue, there's three kind of core steps. So obviously selecting the food that you plan on cooking. Number two is, of course, cooking the amazing food. And number three, which is certainly most people's favourite, which is actually consuming it and serving it up. So when we're talking about selection of the ingredients that you're going to be cooking with, for me, especially when selecting a fish, ideally you do have a fish shop or a fishmonger that you can trust and ask a few questions about the freshness of it, where it comes from. So this is a snapper. When I look at a snapper, I think, okay, we always want the eyes to be quite clear and bright. If they're cloudy, it means it's probably been sitting there a little while. When it comes to the skin, you want it to be quite smooth and glossy, but not slimy. So they're kind of the two key tips to look for when selecting a fish: bright eyes and smooth skin. The next thing is, so fennel, for example, most greengrocers will have beautiful fresh fennel. One of my favourite things when selecting fennel is to make sure that the bulb is quite large. The next step is, of course, cooking it. So what we do is we stuff the fish, we put all of our beautiful herbs, maybe some fennel fronds in there. We will slice the lemon and fennel quite thin. So if you have a mandolin, it's a lot easier to shave the fennel down. And then you'll pop a few incisions in the flesh. You want to get quite low down so that you can get as much flesh as you can. Cut a few slices in there, and that's when you'll pop a couple of slices of lemon and a few pieces of shaved fennel in there as well. It can be tricky. I know a lot of people might find it a little bit daunting to cook a fish on the barbecue because the first thing you think is the skin's probably going to stick to the barbecue. So I've got a few tips to remedy that. But what I would always suggest is to make sure the barbecue is extra hot. So when you put it on, it kind of sears and seals the skin as you pop it on the barbecue. The next one is to oil. Oil the skin as much as you can. Obviously, we want to make sure that we have a balance between consuming too much oil and making sure the dish is still nice and healthy, but also making sure the fish doesn't stick. keep in mind a lot of that oil will cook off in the cooking process. A lot of the amazing juices will drip down into the charcoal and then they will re-infuse the food, which makes it even more delicious. And then with the sweet potato chips, they're so simple. You just slice them up, pop them on the barbecue, a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, maybe some herbs if you like. They take probably about 5 minutes either side, whereas the fish will take about 10 minutes either side. I like to try and keep it off super direct heat because we want it to cook all the way through. And then when you flip it, we obviously want to make sure that we've got a similar cooking time on the other side to make sure that fish is cooked perfectly. When it comes to flipping the fish, we don't want to move it around too much, otherwise that skin will slide off the fish. So usually I just get a big spatula. I also get some tongs to pop on the fish to maybe secure it a little bit. And you just slide the spatula under there and use your tongs just to gently flip it.
Sarah, I'd love to hear your top barbecue tips.
All right, there are quite a few. I will summarise it for this dish. So when it comes to barbecuing, one thing to remember is it's not as prohibitive as it may seem. It can actually be quite quick and easy. And for the value for money in terms of, and the return on investment, the flavour, and also just that active process of cooking something outside is well worth the short and quite simple investment of time. So I like to cook over charcoal. The flavour is so much better, the heat distribution is phenomenal, and the way that it holds its heat for such a long time is really valuable to me when I'm cooking on the barbecue. The next step is to make sure that you use I prefer to use a natural fire lighter. The last thing you want is to taint the taste of the food that you're going to be cooking on the barbecue. So always opt for a natural fire lighter. So the next step, what I did with this snapper is I used some oak smoking chunks. So just before I pop the food on the barbecue, I pop a few smoking chunks among the charcoal, and then what you've got is this additional flavour explosion, and it's just smoking up that food and it's infusing it with so much flavour.
Thank you so much for sharing those really handy tips. If you want to learn more about Sarah and barbecue cooking and how to cook this incredible snapper, go to Sarah's webpage on our website at healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Now stay tuned because after the break we've got another guest and we'll be discussing another interesting topic. After the break, breathwork expert and life coach Christine Hart-Savage will be talking about developing emotional intelligence. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and our next guest is breathwork and life coach Christine Hart-Savage, and the topic we'll be discussing today is developing emotional intelligence. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Megan. It's great to be back again.
Christine, emotional intelligence is a really hot topic at the moment. Could you describe for us what emotional intelligence is?
Emotional intelligence is huge, absolutely huge. It's one of those things that we think, what is emotional intelligence? We've got academic sort of intelligence, IQ, and this is EQ. And I think we have SQ, which is spiritual intelligence as well. Emotional intelligence, I'll tell you what it isn't first. And I used to have a lot of the isn't, like a lot of us do. So in my earlier life, I was so sensitive to everything, I was reactive. Now, when we have emotional reactions going on inside us, whether we actually act on them or not, we're charged. So there's this constant feeling of being sucked down the rabbit hole. That emotion that takes us away from being present. We can't see anything clearly when we're in an emotional state, a charged emotional state. And most of us are reactive to that. So we go through life and whatever's happening around us, or maybe a friend makes a comment, or a husband or a wife makes a comment, or a teacher, or whoever it might be, and suddenly we feel this feeling inside and we are gone. We're actually not there anymore. When we're in that, That is not emotional intelligence. We are lost in an old pattern of behaviour, an old pattern of thinking and feeling. So we want to avoid that sort of thing. So we have to work on healing those deeper layers and bringing our emotional pains and hurts and traumas into balance.
Christine, do you think we have our own ability to choose our own personal path?
I definitely think we do. And this is something that I did not realise when I was younger. I bounced around just reacting to whatever life brought into my world. I did not know that we could choose our thoughts. I did not know that thoughts created. I did not know that we could choose to work with our emotional state and bring it into harmony and balance. Yes, I do believe we can choose who we want to be in the world. Most definitely.
Do you have any examples you'd like to give us of this?
I'll talk about a realisation I had one day. I studied metaphysical science and I love metaphysical science. And I was reading some of the literature and it suddenly occurred to me, wow, I have made such a mess of my life. So all that emotional attachment I had to things and reactions is a lot of life force being wasted on drama, wasted on chaos. And I thought, if I can really choose who I'm going to be in the world and I can change my thoughts and my reactions, I could use that energy and life force to create something wonderful for myself. What if I had the power to do that? So what I did then was look at values. And I thought, well, what are my values? What do I value? And who are the people that I admire in life? And one of them was my grandmother. She is the most beautiful, beautiful, loving lady, my grandmother. I was very close to her. And I thought, what are the qualities that she shows that I like? And she was warm, she was friendly, she was authentic, she was strong, and she laughed a lot. And she was clever. And I thought, I love all of those qualities. I don't know if I have them, but I'm going to choose those qualities and I'm going to actually start bringing them into my life and embodying them. I'm going to choose the values I like and really whittle those down to a few and start to live those values and bring those qualities of those values into my life, to bring them into my being and to live them and to act them out. And one of the thoughts I had, Megan, was if I am choosing to be a certain way in life, is that a lie? Or is it the truth? And I thought, well, is my past and who I've been a lie or the truth? And then I started to think about, well, I've made a bit of a mess of my earlier life. If I can create a new life, one that I like, that is more peaceful and flowing and interactive with people, surely that's the way to go. So I decided that it was a choice. It's a choice to be who we're choosing to be in life. And then having the ability and the commitment to step into those values and embody the qualities of those values. So I started to do that. And I've worked with my mind so much in my life. So one of the things with emotional intelligence is being able to become non-reactive, non-attached to outcomes of things. So to do that, I use my breath a lot in my life to balance myself.
Christine, what should the viewers and I do to develop our own emotional intelligence?
Really become aware of yourself. Become aware of your thoughts. Become aware of your emotions. Become aware of your actions. And then line those up with the values that you hold dear to you. And try to embody those, the qualities of those values into your life and act those out. So it does take a lot of practice. And one of the things is any time and every time you catch yourself being caught up in some emotion or feeling like, I'm going to get back at that person, that payback sort of energy, catch that. And every time you catch it, don't go crooked yourself. Put your arm up, bend it at the elbow, pat yourself on the back and say, I caught myself. I am moving forward. I am getting it. So we can work in a way that we're kind to ourselves, but we need to be really focused and really committed to making those changes, but it's worth it because then we design who we're going to be and we can live a really wonderful life by our own life design, by leading ourselves in our life. We become much more emotionally intelligent.
Thanks, Christine. That's such fantastic information. If you'd like to know more about developing emotional intelligence or Christine Hart-Savage, go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll have another interesting guest with another interesting topic. Stay tuned. After the break, psychic medium and author Anthony Kilner will be talking about the differences between physical and metaphysical life experiences. Welcome back. Our next guest, Anthony Kilner, is a psychic medium and author, and the topic we'll be discussing is what are the differences between physical and metaphysical life experiences. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks for having me here again.
So what is the difference between the two?
Wow, this has got to be my all-time favourite topic. We talk about physical and metaphysical. Physical is objective, it is what it is. You got a pain in your knee, you got a pain in your knee. The metaphysical or the subjective interpretation of what that pain represents, now that becomes more of a challenge and a bit of fun because it'll be subjective, requiring interpretation, so much like a dream. So if we use the left knee as the example, the pain in the knee, you've got a pain, you've bruised it, you've done something, damaged it, it's sore, and that's what it is. You go and see your doctor and you get it fixed. However, if you took notice of it and how it happened, then that's going to give you an understanding that maybe things from your past you're not being very flexible about letting go, and so the knee represents flexibility in your direction, so that then means you're not being flexible in your direction because past things are holding you back. And the knock or the bruise or the damage as a result of taking note of that is to make you really aware of that interpretation. If it was the right knee though, and you had the same pain and the same, oh my gosh, I've got a pain in my knee, what's that? It's about not being flexible moving forward. And while they sound very similar, one is the past holding you back, one is a fear stopping you from moving forward, so you're not being as flexible in your direction as possible. So that interpretation applies to your whole physical body. All right, so if we look at the hand, for example, it does, the left is past, the little finger represents children, the ring finger, relationships, the index finger, sexuality, then we have our pointer, that is you controlling the situation, thumb represents you're under the thumb. So if you get a pain in your thumb and you might think, oh, why am I getting that? And it's on the left side, you might feel that you're being put under the thumb by someone who's trying to control you. All right? Now, as we're sitting here, we can hear it, audience might not, is there's a siren going off in the background. So when we're talking about things and you notice the siren going off, then that's a warning sign for you to be more aware of what's happening around you, to maybe not say what you're about to say, those sorts of things. So the universe actually helps create all these messages that are subjective or metaphysical, subjective, and require interpretation. And it all's based around what you do. So then we have, like I said, eyes represent how you see. So left eye is how you see the past, right eye is how you see the future. All right? When you get stressed, most people carry stress and burdens in our shoulders. Feeling a pain in the middle of your back is like somebody stabbing you in the back, and you might get that while you're thinking of somebody and you'll just go, oh wow, that pain feels really intense, and that's how it comes across. So there's all these different things from the universe. Your house represents things, so you know, a blocked toilet is, you know, you have to get a plumber in to fix it. It could then also represent that you're holding on to too much of your rubbish and you need somebody to help you to let it go.
What can we learn from our everyday life experiences?
Best thing in understanding all of this is don't go looking for it. Everyday experiences occur because the universe is trying to get us messages, right? Different from dreams. The universe is providing that. And so if we notice something, we interpret it. The multitude of experiences, you can put it out there, and I did this when I was living in India. It was every morning I would say to the spirit world and to the universe, as part of my morning ritual, okay, so give me a sign as I walk along my path on the side of the hill that what happens there will mean or say make sense of what my day is going to be like. And so some days I'd walk out and there'd be a dog sitting there and it'd come up and have a pat, and a dog represents loyalty. Right? The colours of the dog would then be, if it was black and white, it'd be like finding balance in loyalty. Right? Other days there'd be a butterfly come out of nowhere and just sort of either land on me or hover in front of my face. And again, that means there's transition occurring in that day. Walk out and there's a cow blocking the path. Now in the Indian culture, cows are sacred. So then there's a sacredness to my journey, and I have to maybe find a way around that without disturbing it, but learn more. So all those things come into play. And in our daily lives, problems with cars. So, you get a flat tyre and say it's a flat tyre on the right rear and it's a front wheel drive car. All right, so we're mashing it all up because, ex-mechanic, I can talk about these quite well. Most people understand a car. So right rear wheel, it's not a drive wheel, so there's something that's stopping you for a moment, that's dragging you back, right, to stop in your direction and think about where you're going and what you're doing. And that then, you fix the tyre and you get moving again, but you need that breather to understand what's happening in that space. Why can't you move forward? And that's what the universe provides. And water leaks are the same. Water represents emotions. So if you've got a water leak in your car and it's a radiator, there's something explosive happening. There's frustration, there's anger, there's hot, there's steam. All those things come into it. So if you interpret it, you might say, well, in your direction, what's stopping you from living a happy life and being nice and relaxed and calm in your direction? Why are you getting frustrated and angry and hot under the collar, so to speak? So all of those things are important, and the universe provides a plethora of that. So the understanding is to embrace it in your everyday life, is to just learn and take note of what's actually happening in that space. What does it mean? Absorb it and just move on.
Do you have any suggestions for our viewers in their own journey in discovering the difference in their own lives with the physical and metaphysical?
Yeah, my big suggestion first off is journal. Write everything down. So if it grabs your attention, write it down. It's super important, because then you don't have to think about it later, you can just interpret it. A good dream interpretation book is good as well, because interpretations for dream and subjective are very similar. Also, finding someone that can help you to interpret it if you're not sure. And that's really important. And I find sitting circle, which is, the spiritual aspect of learning all of this stuff, your body doesn't lie. Your body tells you what's going on. You've just got to pay attention to it. In a good circle, you'll learn that as well.
Thanks, Anthony. That's such rich information. If you'd like to know more about Anthony Kilner and the difference between the physical and the metaphysical life experience, please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And that's all for us today, and we'll say bye-bye for now and see you next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.